We are going to discuss about stored procedures. Hey guys, any idea about the stored procedures?
No,
Right. So the stored procedure means it contained some set of SQL statements. Okay. This is a part of TSQL. Okay. So from the stored procedures onwards, this is a TSQL. Before whatever we have learned, that is SQL, just SQL. Okay. So the stored procedure contains some set of SQL statements. Okay. For example, if you are going to write select star from EMP, this is one SQL statement. Okay, and every time whenever you are going to write down on this SQL statement, and after you are closing this one, okay. So once you are closing this one, it is disappearing, right? So instead of that one, so I'm going to save this entire logic into one procedure. Okay, right. For example, if you have one application, whether it is a .NET application or whether it is a Java application, whatever. So instead of writing an SQL statement, you can write down a stored procedure. Okay, so what this stored procedure contains? This stored procedure contains some set of SQL statements, and whenever you are calling this stored procedure name, it will execute whatever the statements you have put in that particular procedure. Right, so instead of writing this stored procedure, if you are putting this SQL statements, what happened? So it is trying to communicate with the database engine, that is SQL server, and these many of characters and these many of SQL statements has to come here, and it has to communicate the SQL server database. There is something network issue and performance point of view, it's very bad, right? So instead of passing these many SQL statements from application to this SQL server database engine, so you can store all these SQL statements in these databases, and you can call that procedure from application. That could be easy, right? So you are just writing execute a procedure name, that's enough. So any kind of anything you can put in that particular stored procedure, right? How you can create a stored procedure? Create procedure. Okay, create procedure. The procedure name, you can give any name. I'm going to give so the naming convention is esp underscore, you have to give user defined procedure emp information. This is the procedure name. Okay, and you have to give yes and begin. Okay, and finally end this procedure. So if you are executing this procedure, what happened? So where it is saved, go to this database and come to programmability. Here it is stored procedure, that is esp emp information. So this is the stored procedure, right? So if you want to see the result, if you want to execute the stored procedure, how you can execute the procedure name, you have to write down, right? So if you are executing, this is the execute statement you have to return, and the procedure name you have to return, that is esp underscore emp information. So this way you can execute and you can see the result. What happened here? So you are writing execute the procedure name, and this procedure name is calling this already saved procedure, right? So it's already compiled. So whenever you are executing, it is already compiled and it is saved in this database stored procedures. So every time whenever you are going to call this procedure, no need to compile this stored procedure, no need to execute, and no need to uh, check the syntax errors. But if you are writing in a normal SQL statements, it has to every time check up the syntax, and it has to compile that query. That is something performance point of view, it is taking too much time to compile and syntax checking, that is debugging, right? So to avoid this kind of network issues, so you can simply put you can simply save that SQL statements in a procedure, and you can just call execute procedure name, right? So for example, if you want to pass an input parameter for this procedure, the input parameter means, so instead of this total employee information, I'm going to select where department number equal to 10th department. So this result I want to show. Sometimes whenever I am going to execute a procedure, I want to show 20th department, I want to show 30th department. So this way you can pass any number of value, any number of department number. So this you can pass as a input parameter at the rate of department D number. You can give any name, and that data type you have to mention and close the bracket, right? So this is the parameter value. So this parameter value I'm going to write down in where condition, department number equal to, so whatever the value I have provided at the time of execution, that will replace this at the rate of department number, right? So already you have created this procedure, there is already an object name, so you have to alter this procedure. So whenever you are doing any modification for this procedure, you have to make it, instead of create, you have to make it alter. Command completed successfully, right? So already you have executed this procedure. How? Execute the procedure name, but now we have one input parameter, right? So what input parameter? This one. So that input parameter is department number you have to pass. For example, if I am passing here 10, the department number is 10. If I am executing this one, what happen? The 10th department number information will come here. If you are passing 20, what happen? So, sorry, okay, the 20th department number information is coming here. Okay, so based on this, you can pass any number of any kind of parameter value, and it will replace this one, and it will replace this one. So you can add many more input parameters. I want to pass employee name varchar 100. The employee name is a varchar 100, right? So what I am going to pass here? Smith. So you have to put in double quote, single quotes, right? So it will give only, right? You have to alter that. Whenever you are modifying anything, you have to alter that. It is giving this result. Why? Because it is, if you are even passing the Smith, but it is giving all the employee name information, because you didn't put the condition employee name equal to this parameter value. You are going to filter, alter this one. This is giving only Smith information. Okay, so instead of returning all the values, I want to take only job type. Alter this one. It is giving this person department number 20th, and the person Smith job is clerk, right? So I want to store this value, whatever the value is, it's displaying here. I want to store in a variable, output variable. So why we have to store this value in output variable? So basically in applications, like in application developers, .NET developers or Java developers, they want to return this value, whatever the value result is coming from this procedure, into one variable. That variable they can use in their applications. Okay, right? How you can initiate an output variable in the parameter section? Output parameter, right? The output parameter is job, that is varchar. Okay, and you have to put that is output. So for these input parameters, you no need to specify like input, because by default those are input parameters. But for the output parameter, you have to specify the parameter name and the data type and it has to be mentioned output. Right. So whatever the value is coming from this query based on these input parameters, that value I'm going to declare, that value I'm going to put into one variable. Okay, that is I'm going to declare one variable job type varchar 100. So I'm going to assign whatever the value is coming from here into this, alter this one. Right, so right now I have two input parameters and one output parameter. So this output parameter value saves whatever the information is coming from this query, this procedure. So how can you execute a procedure having two input parameters and one output parameter? Right, so if you want to execute a procedure, so first you have to declare one variable for the output parameter. Okay, so you have to declare a variable similar like the data type. Okay, and in the execute statement you have to give the two input parameters after. So you have to specify at the rate of job. This is the output you have to mention. And if you want to see whether this value is stored in this variable or not, so you can write down select this one. Null value is coming. Why it's giving a null value? If you are passing here 20th department number and this is Smith, right? What happened? Sorry, so I'm going to take this query outside. Sorry, I didn't put this value right here. So I forgot to alter. Null value is coming. The reason we can check out. So the department number is 20. I'm going to pass, and the employee name is Smith. And I'm going to delete. So clerk is coming. But why it is showing it's a null value? For example, if I am giving a different this one, still it's coming null value. Right, so what is the reason why it is showing like null value instead of output value clerk? Right, there is something bug is there. So this is the procedure, and the procedure name, department number, employee name, and job. Okay, right, so job and varchar output declared at the rate of job type. Okay, and this is the varchar data type, and I am going to assign into here. Okay, and if I am giving job type here, still it is showing null value. Is there any mistake? SMITH. Guys, anybody knows what's going on? I have created a procedure, the procedure name, the department number as input parameter, and employee name as input parameter. Okay, and this is the EMP tables, and the department number is equal to at the rate of department number, employee name equal to at the rate of employee name. If you are passing, this is a 20th department, and the Smith is the employee name. Okay, and it has to return the some job type. Correct? So how to execute a stored procedure with output value? Right, if I am deleting this value, what happened? Right, now I am going to execute. So clerk is coming, it is still is showing null value. What's the reason? Right, I am going to create a new procedure. Create, or else we can check whether it's there. Modify. So this is one of the procedure we have, and if I'm going to execute, the procedure name is this procedure, and the input parameter value I'm going to pass 20 comma Smith. Okay, and meanwhile I'm going to declare one variable varchar. Okay, and at the rate of j output select at the rate of j. I'm declaring error converting the data type varchar to integer. Which one is the integer value? So job varchar 20 Smith. The formal parameter at the rate of employee name was not declared as a output parameter. Right, so you have department number, employee number, and employee name, three parameters here. Okay, right, so for those three parameters I'm going to pass values. So we'll check select start from emp. Okay, right, so I'm going to pass this employee number. First, that parameter is department number. Right, the department number is 20th I am passing. After that, the employee number, this employee number. If I am executing this one, clerk is giving. Right, so nothing is there. If you just delete this one, edit this one. This is a procedure, alter procedure. This is the procedure name, and this is the one of the parameter department number parameter, and this is the employee number parameter, and this is employee name parameter. Okay, this is the job output parameter. Okay, right. Yes, the problem why it is not giving proper to me in the last solution is, so you don't need to declare a variable here. Alright guys, just put this one output parameter only. That's it. Right, just alter this one and you can execute now. Clerk is coming. Right, so here you have already created the output parameter, so that in that parameter you have to include this one. So alter procedure, procedure name, and the department number, and employee name is the output input parameter, and the job type is the output parameter. Okay, so this input parameter you have to pass here, and this input parameter you have to pass here. So whatever the result is coming from this query, that value you have to put into at the rate of job output parameter. Okay, so how to execute a stored procedure? Procedure having input and output varieties. Output parameters. Okay, so you have, this is the execute statement you have to return, and the procedure name you have to return, and the input values you have to return. The input value is department number 20th, and the employee name is Smith, and whatever the output parameter. So for that output parameter, so you have to declare one sample output parameter, any kind of one variable you have to declare, and that variable you have to put here, and you have to give like output. So that value, whatever the value is coming from this procedure, it is contained in this job type parameter. So if you want to see that value, whether this the value is existing in that or not, you can write down, select that variable. So this way you can create and you can alter whenever you are doing any modifications to your procedure. You have to put alter, right? So if you want to see the entire code, how the what is the entire create script for this procedure, you have to write down sp help text and the procedure name. For executing this one, it is giving entire create structure for a stored procedure. See, this is the create structure for the stored procedure. How you can find out this one? sp underscore help text, the procedure name you have to return. Okay, right. So how to drop a procedure? Drop procedure and this procedure name. If I write on this one, sorry, the procedure is drop. Now you can create one more procedure. So this way you can create a procedure by using input parameters and output parameters. So how to do error handling in our stored procedures? How to do error handling in stored procedures? Yes, we can do the error handling by using begin, try, and catch block. Right? Begin, try, catch block. Right. So whatever the logic, whatever the query you are going to put inside here, okay, that you have to put into begin, try. Okay, so entire logic you have to put into try block. Okay, you have to end the try block. So once if there is any error is finding inside this try block, so that immediately that it will jump into catch block. Okay, so here you can print a error, print error is coming, and you can end catch block. Got it? Right. So if you are executing this one, so as you are trying to create 1 second, right? So don't create, alter you have to use, right? So now I'm going to execute this procedure. Execute. Okay, so where is that execute statement? This one I'm going to use 1 second. If I'm executing this one, clerk is coming. So there is no error, it is executing successfully, right? So I want to do some error, I want to make it some error, because for the testing of begin, try, and catch, begin catch is working properly or not. Okay, so I want to make it select 1 by 0. If you are making select 1 by 0, if you are executing this statement, it will give divide by 0 and counter error. Okay, for the demonstration purpose I am putting this statement inside the try block. Once you are getting any error, it will jump into catch block. Okay, yes, I'm going to alter this one. Execute, sorry, alter. I don't know whether this emp procedure, sorry, this is my procedure, right? If I'm executing this one, error is coming. It is printing the message, this message, because there is an error is coming, select 1 by 0. If it is trying to execute this statement, okay, so it will return the error message. So this way you can handle errors in your SQL server. So by using the raise error, function, sorry, raise error, okay, by using the raise error function you can raise an error. Okay, what error you can raise? So the error message you can write down here, divided by 0. You can give line number and everything. Alter it. If you are executing this one, it is giving this kind of error message. Okay, if there is no error, for example, instead of if I am putting 1, what happen? It is executing successfully, right. So if I am altering this one, there is no error. It won't give any error, right? So that's why it is just displaying these values, right? If you observe here, there are some messages will come here, so these will degrade some performance also. So in that situation you can put set number count on. Okay, set number count on. If you are putting this set number count on, then it won't display that many messages. That is one trick for improving the performance of a stored procedure. Right? So the main concept in this stored procedures is how to include these input parameters and output parameters, how to execute a stored procedure whenever you having input parameters and output parameters, and how we are going to handling errors inside a stored procedure. Got it? So these kind of things you can do by using a stored procedure. These are very most important things in SQL Server. So if you want to improve the performance of statements, instead of writing SQL statements, you can put in a stored procedure and you can simply call the stored procedure instead of sending all this long and lengthy queries to SQL Server. Understood? Create procedure name, the input parameter values, okay, and those data types you have to mention. If it is a output parameter, you have to put output. For the input parameters, no need to put anything because by default these are input parameters. And you have to take as begin. And why you are putting set number count on? If you want to eliminate the unnecessary messages, okay, right. So for the error handling, I'm going to put in begin try, so and end try. In between this only you have to put your entire SQL statements and SQL logic and business logic. After that you have to specify the begin catch and end catch. So this catch statement will print whatever the error is coming in this try block, and finally you have to end. If you want to execute a procedure with output parameter, so that input parameters you have to specify normally, execute procedure name, okay, and the input parameter values and output value. So this is about the stored procedure. So whatever the functions, user defined functions in SQL Server. Right, what exactly a function? So I already I have discussed so many functions, scalar value functions like date functions and string functions and aggregate functions, right? So all those functions returns a single value. All those functions returns a single value, right? So if I want to create my user defined function, if you see, select left function, this is a string function, right? So this left function, if you we have to pass two input parameters. You can give any name here and you have to give the number, how many characters you required from left side. It is giving jhc 3 characters. So this is the function name, left is the function name, and this is the one input parameter and this is the one input parameter. Correct? Right. So this way, if I want to create a function, scalar value function, you have to use this user defined functions. So total how many user defined functions are there? Scalar value function and table value functions. So in this table value functions we have two kind of one is inline functions. Inline means it is allowing only single statement in that particular function. It will return entire table result. If you are coming to the next one, multi-value, multi-statement, not value, multi-statement function, table value function. Okay, so basically this scalar function will return only single value, but this table value function returns table data. Okay, right. So how to create a scalar value function? How to create a scalar value function? Create function. The function name you have to give. So the function name I am going to give employee name. Okay, so what is my requirement? If I am giving a employee number, so I want to display the employee name of that particular employee number. Okay, for that I am going to make one function. So the input parameter value is employee number, right? So that is integer, close the bracket. So what kind of data type you are going to return? Employee name, right? So the employee name is a varchar data type, so I'm going to returns varchar data type. You have to specify for the scalar values functions what kind of data type you are going to specify here, right. After that you have to keep as begin. So here you have to write down the statement, select employee name from emp where emp number equal to at the rate of e number. So I want to declare a variable to store this value, whatever the value is coming in the employee name. So sample variable I'm going to declare name varchar 100. Okay, so you have to put at the rate of. So I'm going to assign that value to this variable. So in the final here it is a employee number. Okay, so in the final you have to return, write down return statement and what variable you are going to return and put end. So you are open, right? That is begin, so you have to put end also. Got it? How I have written? Create function name and the input parameters. You can give more than one input parameter also, and returns what kind of data type we are going to return here, this one, yes, begin. So after you are executing this query, so there is something employee name will come based on this employee number input parameter. So that value I am going to store into one local variable. That variable I am going to finally returns. if you are executing this one, sorry, command completed successfully. So now I am going to execute the function. How to execute a function? How you are executing some string functions and date functions and aggregate function? Just simply select that schema name you have written dbo dot, what is the function name, employee name, and the bracket open you have to do, okay, and the input parameter value you have to put. So what value you are going to put here? So I will take some sample one from emp. So this I am going to put here what. So this employee number name, if you are passing this employee number, that employee name is what is coming. Got it? This is about the scalar value function. This
Ram, I have a small question, Ram.
yeah.
What is this number 7521?
This is the employee number.
Okay. From where will be getting this number?
So I have taken from this employee table for the sample value. You can pass any number.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So whatever the value you are putting here, that value is coming to here and it is filtering here. So it will
Okay.
return this query, the employee number equal to at the rate of employee number. So at the rate of employee number
Okay.
is nothing but 7521 you are passing input parameter.
Okay.
Okay, so based on the same sorry, the same way how you are executing your string functions and date functions and aggregate functions, those functions are already created by SQL Server system functions. But if you want to create your own functions, like here, if I want to give employee number, I want to display employee name, so this way you can display, right? This is a function, this is a user defined function you have created. That substring, left, right, ltrim, martrim, these are all system defined functions already created, built-in functions, you don't need to create separately. Okay, so this is about the scalar value function in user defined function. Scalar value means it will return single value, it's any kind of data type. How to drop a function? So if you want to alter this function, just put simply alter. If you want to see the total entire code of this function, sp help text, the function name you have to return here, the function name is employee name. So this is the entire function create script. If you see, this is the create script, right? Create function, function name, returns varchar as began declare. So this way you can find out. If you want to see where these functions are stored, come to functions. So there are two kind of functions I told you, right? Table value function, scalar value function. Under these scalar value functions, you can see dbo dot. This is the function. You can see that function script like this way. Right click and modify. If you want to make it create script like this way. If you want to alter anything, you can write down alter the function name. Okay. So the remaining functions, table value functions and triggers, we will see in the next session. Table value function, triggers, performance tuning. So tomorrow we are going to finish this SQL Server. Okay, these are the three concepts for finishing this
Yeah,
session.
triggers is very important, right?
Yeah. So then after we will jump into ESSIS. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
And one more thing, Ram, we are not getting the recorded sections. We are getting one by one. Can you send me one from the first class onwards? All
Uh,
together in one line.
I will give one link. Wait. Okay, so these are all the videos. Okay, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Okay, so you can
Okay.
browse all these videos. Okay, so go to this
Yeah.
channel and you guys can take from here.
Can you just copy the link and send it in the messenger?
Yeah, you can take it. Okay, so I will upload each video daily in this YouTube. You can browse from there. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, thanks guys, thanks for the join.
Yeah. Once again, don't close it. I need to just copy it.
Yeah, yeah, copy it. Done.